Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. We have Ghost Recon Breakpoint on the chopping block. We're going to be looking at AI, the mechanics, and how it makes the identity of this game unique, and also, in my opinion, has some enjoyable aspects for the player. Now, one thing I love to do in my own coverage of video games is I like to talk about game mechanics in a very casual sense and some of the things that I see and I can basically learn from. And you wonder, learn from how? Well, honestly, I play around learning game development stuff, and I can tell you the AI is one of the most complicated aspects of game development. Honestly, every single aspect is very complicated. Even building the open world and putting a tree in the world is a complicated process because that tree, you have to make sure that it loads very well and it's not an expensive tree on the memory and the processor of the device that's playing it. So that's a technical aspect of game development where they actually hire technical designers and technical developers to make sure that the game actually works right, because all the assets that are loading in the world, they're all taking some level of space and they're streaming and loading as you're progressing through the world. Crazy stuff, I know, right? Big brain. Anyways, the AI aspect I'm dealing with today is not necessarily the difficulty. I don't necessarily care about that. I think if you crank up the difficulty of the game, I think for so many people right now, they understand and they know that the difficulty is, in my opinion, or however the difficulty levels, the scale with the different settings, in my opinion, is acceptable. It's good. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not excellent, but it does provide the challenge that you're going in there for if you go all the way to the extreme mode. So what am I going to be looking at today? I'm going to be looking at the AI teams, the way that they set everything up where your AI partners basically follow you and, they follow your commands and they're able to pretty much do what you say on demand and all of that stuff, and how they're actually programmed in general. All of these things to me are very interesting game design, principles that they've actually implemented in the past. They actually had this stuff in Ghost Recon Wildlands. This is not new, but it is something that when Ghost Recon Breakpoint came out, it didn't come with out of the box, and fans requested it, and they had to go somehow incorporate it into the game later on. So I don't know how their base game for Ghost Recon Breakpoint would have been built, but if it was built very differently, or if it was developed very differently from Wildlands, then man, that must have been a lot of work to actually restructure the entire game to have the AI actually put in, because the game was not necessarily designed on the forefront with AI. So how does the AI team work? The AI team works by a tethering mechanism in terms of the code. In my opinion, this is what I'm estimating, where they kind of have to keep a specific distance from you at every given point. It's hard to kind of ditch them, say like Far Cry 6, where you have your amigos, and I think in Far Cry 5 there were the amigos of some kind, but I've not played Far Cry 5. But Far Cry 6, you had these animals that followed you, but you could actually station them in one particular position and they would stay there, or you could dismiss them. But here's the thing. Those amigos in Far Cry, whenever you started a fight or you were in combat in active battle, they would then eventually get activated and go into the battle scene. In the case of the AI for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, they're always constantly following you. You're giving them different commands. It's a list of specific commands that you can give them that your command wheel has. And to me, I think this is actually pretty cool and pretty dynamic. And I think this is a place where Ghost Recon Breakpoints right now, or the developers that are working on this particular game or any future games, can dig in. All of the simple tasks that you can give your AI right now, I think can be expanded upon to make a much more in-depth RPG aspect of Ghost Recon. Now, it sounds crazy when you say RPG aspect. It's an RPG game already. Shoot, it's a game that has you directing other AI to go do something with you in real time. They're fighting other bad guys. They're responding to the environment and the world around them. They're responding to you. If you're running and you're tired, the AI will tell you, boss, you need to rest, because right now your stamina is getting low. That is some high level AI. Now, you wonder, why am I fawning over this AI system? Like, yeah, we get it. Well, look at the AI that I've developed, how primitive it is. And it took me months and months and months to be able to get the AI to locate my player and follow me all over the place wherever I'm going. Now, this AI is designed to be hostile. They're not necessarily designed to be friendly. I could design them to be friendly by changing some of their codes and changing some of the, instructions in their brain component. But I was so proud of myself in getting this thing to work. I took like 2 months off from touching anything game development. Once I accomplished that, I closed my laptop and I walked away from the darn thing for many, many weeks. And imagine how many teams will have to come together to make sure that this particular system that we have in Ghost Recon Breakpoint is actually quite functional. Even though there are kinks to it, because it's not perfect, I would wish that the AI I could pretty much position them in individual spots in a sense, other than having to do that when I'm syncing my shots. Maybe this is something that actually happens as I continue to level them up, but I'm exploring basically what we have now on the base level. I think it's quite interesting. Now, here's another crazy aspect. Your AI team also has a leveling system as well. This is some in-depth gameplay mechanics, and I think they put a lot of work into this. And for those who have already started to recognize how important this new Motherland update is, and even some of the AI aspects that have been in the game that they added before Motherland, I think what you're seeing right now is these developers probably want to continue to double down on what they have. So I'm making this video not only to talk about AI and all of that, but to signal to the developers that, yo, you guys are doing something that's okay, that's good. I would hope that in your next iteration of a Ghost Recon game, be it a DLC or be it a huge expansion, that you continue to further make this an in-depth part of the game that people can dig into and work with. Now, the challenge here, though, and the danger is they could make it too bloated. And that's another thing, too, that game designers have to kind of rein in. So how much do you want the AI to be, present and to be involved in the combat sequences? Because, you could also turn off AI, teammates as well. I mean, people want to play the game solo, so they could go without the AI. It's not necessary that they're there, but players like me, I like the AI. It's just a little more, fun to be able to feel like you're playing in a group of people. And once you kind of get used to them, it's somewhat interesting. And so all of these things are things that they have to balance as they're, going on and fine tuning this game, because I don't think Motherland update was just an update to just try to revive the game. I think, according to what I know from other Ubisoft studios, this is a sales pitch for a future game or a future partnership that they want to have with this Ghost Recon community in terms of, yo, if we make another Ghost Recon game, are you guys going to come out for us, and are you guys going to buy the game? I think that's what they're just saying here in a sense, because one, these developers, they seem passionate about their work. I really have to go research the studios that worked on this game and see who's at the helm of this stuff. Just like The Division, where we know who's at the helm of what at any given time. In many cases anyways, we don't know everything, but it's nice to kind of know and look at their resume and look at the games that they've made and where all of this stuff is coming from. Because even though from some of the discussions I've been having, some people have said that they actually moved a lot of the development of these systems to other studios other than their main studio, I still think they would have had some direction from their major studios as well. Somebody keeping an eye on it, just like how Yannick from The Division is keeping an eye on the Division 2 content being developed by Ubisoft Bucharest. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and just conclude this video by saying that the AI mechanics on the surface level, when you look at it, is a very solid system in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Its polish to me is on a grade B+, if I was to rate it. To find A+ AI, you really have to have a very controlled environment in order for you to be able to, deal with that. Because if you think about the parameters that go into it, you're not only dealing with your AI teammates, they also have to interact with hostile AI. And hostile AI also have their own parameters as well. They have roaming AI. They have AI that are bots, AI that are machines. All of these things influence how all this works. And now the web gets more and more tangled. And you can start to see and appreciate that this is no ordinary feat that you could just toss in a video game. Because remember, Ghost Recon Wildlands, yes, we had the AI, but they were subject to only one parameter of NPC types. In this game, even though they went back and added the AI, they had to do it even with the existing different AI types and everything that they had already developed. You got to say kudos to this team for doing it. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you don't use it, I understand. But if you do use it, how does it affect your gameplay? Let me know. Peace out.